today's episode of The Pursuit for Meaning. And not sit there because you look at Angela, you look at all these other people you're saying, Casey, and you're just confused, like confused. Which exit do I go? You know? And then you sit down there on the floor crying, and the monster is coming to get you. I don't know what it's gonna do to you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Everyone's well, in best of health, in best of states, as we continue on in our next episode of Pursuit for Me. So, in my last episode, I called it a Muslim scholar shows how to turn a fly into a bee. So in that video, I was quoting Imam Ghazali in his Alchemy of Happiness, and Imam Ghazali poses a question, if you guys watched it, about how you should consider if you're about to eat something and someone comes up to you and tells you that your food that you're about to eat, in it there's poison. What would you do? What would you do if someone would come up to you and tell you that? And so Imam Ghazali poses a very logical reason. He says that you will probably not eat it unless you are absolutely sure that the person is lying. But also, even if the person might be joking, it should raise in you some sort of fear that there is a possible danger about the food that you're about to eat. So that was what Imam Ghazali was saying. So he was basically relating it to the afterlife. That should you believe in an afterlife, the fact that you would consider a food having poison in it and you will probably abstain from eating the food, what do you think about the afterlife? You should have, if someone tells you that after you die, then when you die, if you don't live a certain way, then might be a possibility there will be something dangerous that will happen to you. So Imam Ghazali just poses an idea that you should consider there is an afterlife, just like how you will consider there's possible danger in eating this food. So when I posted it up, I saw on my comment, thank you for the comment though, it was a long comment, and replying long comments is something that it's going to take time, and I don't have the finger energy to do it. So now that we have technology, which I can record my response, I'm going to record my response and give you a reply. Mr. Robin Dude 8187. So Mr. Robin Dude, thank you for a comment anyway. Appreciate it. Keep it coming. Always appreciate difference of perspective and be able to hopefully come to a positive and beneficial conclusion in our discussions. So I'm just gonna share with you his comment. Right, here we go. I'm not gonna reply the whole thing because I'm just gonna reply one part of it, part one, because this is a long comment. There's a lot of things to unpack. So here it is. Suppose you're about to eat some food and someone tells you a serpent has spat venom. This was Imam Ghazali was mentioning about it. And he gives his own example. Suppose that you are in a hallway being chased by a monster. Angela tells you the exit is through room 101. Brendan tells you it's through 102. Casey tells you it's through 103. Daisy tells you it's through 104, and so on. What do? You can't actually check any of the rooms. You'll never know if there's an exit in there before you pick one. And you can't change your mind later anyway. Do you just randomly pick one and hope? Or do you ask Angela, Brendan, Casey, and Daisy and the rest why they think there's an exit out there? And then decide if there's a reason, if their reasons are insufficient, that there might be an exit out there. There's just no good reason to believe it. I've taken the last option. You've told me the exit is room 101. Why should I believe it? Why should I believe you? Why your room over all others? What makes you think there's an exit at all? And if there isn't, shouldn't I do other things that waste what little time I have with these doors? Alright, Mr. Robin Dude, I hear you loud and clear. This is my response. So let's just break this down. Firstly, your argument doesn't really fit into the whole purpose of the example. I was mentioning earlier, the purpose of the example was to give you a possibility that there is an exit. The example was to showcase, using your example, there is a possibility of an exit. Whose exit we are going to choose is not the argument here. It's more about if there is an exit in the first place. Knowing that there's a monster coming, about to get you, should you find for an exit is the question which you are talking about. And I'm not even talking about which exit you should choose. I'm just saying that you should consider there's an exit. So just want to make that clear. So when you propose and you bring up other things like if there's Angela giving an exit and all that kind of stuff, we have not gone there, and maybe we should, but maybe we will, but not yet. I just want to tell you, we are just saying, should you believe there's an exit, knowing there's a possible danger? You should, in our position, if I think, if there is people calling out and there's a monster, as your example says, there's a monster coming and chase you, and there are people there saying like, hey, come find an exit. I think it's only natural and logical that you should know, or you should consider there is an exit. Knowing that the imminent danger, which is the monster chasing you, I don't know what the monster is going to do to you, but yeah, I think monsters and catching up with you is something not pleasant, I guess. I hope that's correlated with danger. But anyway, you should find an exit. Just like the person who you should consider there is an exit. It's a different story if there is no one there saying there is no exit. If there's no one there saying there's no, and you're just stuck there in one hallway, there's no doors, and this is the monster in you, then your options are different. But in this case, your options are there. You have options. Angela and all those other fellas, you say. But what we are saying, what Imam Ghazali is saying, is that even before choosing which exit, Imam Ghazali is saying you should consider an exit. Why? Because if you don't choose an exit, what should you do? You said that your option you have chose is that you don't even want to consider, or why do I waste my time finding this exit? So your possible conclusion is just sit down there and wait for the monster to come and catch up with you, which is an amazing danger. And it's very, very scary knowing that you are sure there is a monster coming. You are sure there's an imminent danger that is coming. You are sure that once this monster comes up to you, game over. And yet, you do not want to find an exit. You do not want to find a way out. This is very dangerous. And I hope no one subscribes to this philosophy, because, this is the core of nihilism and fatality. And this is one of the reasons why people commit suicide, is because they succumb to such ideas. Why do I ever bother living, knowing that everything is tragedy, knowing that my life has no purpose? I hope you don't do this, Robin Dude, because I don't want that for anyone. Life is more to life than anything else. There's so much things to be grateful for in life. So what I'm proposing, or no, what Imam Ghazali is proposing, as what I've quoted, is that you should consider there is an exit, because it's only logical. It's only logical when knowing there is a monster coming to catch up with you, and knowing there is an imminent danger coming. You should find a way out, and not sit there because you look at Angela, you look at all these other people you're saying, Casey, and you're just confused, which exit do I go? And then you sit down there on the floor crying, and the monster is coming to get you. I don't know what it's gonna do to you. And like, why do you want to do that? No, you gotta find a way out. So, and then you said this, do you just randomly pick one and hope, or do you ask Angela, Brendan, Casey, and the rest why they are thinking there is, and the rest why they think there is an exit out there, and then decide if there's reasons are insufficient, there might be an exit out there. There's just no good reason to believe it. The person, I want to tell you this, Robin dude, the person who randomly picks an exit is an idiot. The one who inherits an exit, in this case religion is what you are proposing, or the example you're trying to give, is also an idiot. There should not be any sort of blind faith. You should know why you believe in something. You know, that is the only truthful thing. Because if you do not know why you believe in something, you don't truly believe. And there's no belief at all, you know. So it's very important that we know why we believe in something. And about asking them the reasons, if we had time, I hope we had time, you should ask them. Like, but the question is, what do you ask? What do you ask these different people to find out if there is such an exit? It cannot be random questions. You cannot ask them like, hey, deciding if Angela is the right one, you say, is the color purple purple? You know, is do you like well done steaks or raw chicken? You know, you can't ask them these kind of questions. You got to know what questions to ask. You know, you got to look for the signs. You got to be able to have evidence and proofs to show that that is the right exit. But if you do not know these signs and examples of what these exits are, and how can you find an exit? But before that, it's very important for you to know, Mr. Robin Dude, is that before you even ask, find out what are the exits are, you should ask yourself, how do I determine what is true and what is false? In this case, these exits, how would you determine? What are your standards of truth? How do you measure things up? How do you conclude if something is right or wrong? Do you have such things? Do you have such standards to determine something is right or wrong? You know, because if you don't tell me your standards or your evidence to determine what is right and wrong, every answer I give you will be pointless. So it's very important for us to come to a conclusion, to understand from you, Mr. Robin Dude, how do you determine what is right and what is wrong? Right, next. After you said this, I've taken the last option. You've told me the exit is in room 101. I haven't give you any exit yet. Okay. Why should I believe you? Why your room over all others? What makes you even think there is an exit at all? And if there isn't, shouldn't I do other things than waste my little time I have with this door? Firstly, as I mentioned again earlier, I have not given you any exit options. We have not even discussed these options. The only thing I've started with this question is, should you even think about the exit? So what do you think, Robin Dude? Should we think of an exit? Is it important for us to think of an exit, knowing there is possible danger coming, knowing there's, in the example I'm trying to understand from a monster coming, is that you probably die? Should you find a way out, or should you just sit down there and let nature take its course? But for argument's sake, let's say I have given you an exit. Why should you choose an exit? This is my proposition to you. Number one, you need to first ask yourself, what are the proofs of a true exit? What is the proof that you have to find out a real exit? Number two, what are the signs or the proofs or the evidences of a false exit? Number three is the reasoning of the one calling me to this exit logical? Does it make sense? Does it break down in any rational ideas? Does it break down any rational thinking? Number 4, does the one who is calling you to this exit show any signs of untrustworthiness? Because all of it is based on trust. The video that you commented on when I was speaking with the scientist, at the end of the day, Robin dude, it is trust. You have put your trust on the scientist, and we have put your trust on science, as your other arguments went in. At the end of the day, it is trust. So the trustworthiness of a person is important. So this is why I put it as number 4. Does the person who's calling you, not me, I'm not the one who's calling you. This person who is calling you to this door, which is not me, I'm probably just like one of the people who are like you, I'm running to one of the exits, and you are probably looking around and deciding which exit to choose, but you're just sitting down on the floor crying at the moment. I'm like one of them running towards the exit. How do I determine which exit to choose, right? So for me, trustworthiness of the one who's opening the door for me is super important, and it cannot be taken lightly. Lastly, because if I don't make this the last one, it's gonna be a very long video. So the last one for this part 1 is what you said. What makes you even think there is an exit at all? And if there isn't, shouldn't I do other things than waste what little time I have with these doors? I think a better what I will ask you, Robin Dude, is what makes you think there is no exit? Throughout human history, every single society believed in God. Every single society. When you look at archaeological studies, and you look at the history of the human existence, you see every human being in every part of society, whether in the tribes, whether in the forests, jungles, the desert, everywhere. There will be, even in the time of Aristotle, even in the Greeks, they all believed in God. They all believe there is more to this world than what they experience. So in fact, and also in like proper studies done recently, they have found that the research with children, they asked children, and they found that their children have an innate disposition to believe in a higher power, to believe in God. I'm not talking which God yet. That's a whole different topic. I'm just talking about the idea, if there's such thing as God. And if there's such thing as God, what does it mean for you and me? Throughout our human experience, number 1, throughout human experience, every single society believes in God. Number 2, research and peer studies have shown that the belief in God is innate in the human existence. It is the natural state of human beings to believe in God. What makes you think? The question should be, why do you think there is no God? It shouldn't be. We shouldn't be answering this question, giving you this answer. Instead, we should be asking, why do you think there's no God? Why do you think there's no exit? What makes you think you are right when we have evidences, historical, experiential, logical reasons to believe there is such a thing as God? And yet there is this group of people which has become, more throughout our time than others, who believe there's no such thing as God. So the question should be you. We should be you should be telling us why you do not believe in God. And usually, people who say they don't believe in God, the usual arguments, I'm sure you're gonna say the same thing, which I can sign out. guess through your argument is that you say there's no evidence to believe in God. Let me give you a very simple example. You have no evidence to the existence of Mars. Example, someone told you there's such thing as Mars, and then you still say there's no such thing as Mars. I have no evidence to prove the existence of Mars. Whether you believe the existence of Mars exists or not, whether you have the evidences or not, Mars will exist whether you like it or not. Your ignorance about the evidences with regards to Mars does not mean it doesn't exist. Because you do not know, or you do not have the proofs to justify your belief in Mars, does not mean Mars is false. It just means you do not know. It just means that you have not have the answers, the evidences to or the knowledge to see Mars. If you had a telescope, or but even having a telescope is sometimes not enough. You do not know where to point your telescope at, to point your telescope to. This whole sky is so, you do not know which time to look for Mars. You can't look at it every single time. There's a pointed time and place to find Mars. And you cannot point your telescope in any direction. It must be specific to one direction. And to know all this, you need an astronomer who looks up into the sky and he knows exactly where Mars is without Mars being there. He knows when Mars will unveil Mars self to you. So you need knowledge. You need a person who knows. And you need the tools to be able to do it. If you do not have all this, and you just say Mars doesn't exist, does not mean you are right. It just means you do not know. In fact, it might also mean you're an idiot. But I don't think you're an idiot, Mr. Robin Dude. I think you just don't have, you're not put in you don't have the proper evidence yet. And so just because you do not know or you don't believe there's Mars because you don't have evidence, just like the exits. Using your examples which you have given, what you should be doing, like I mentioned earlier, was to sit down, cry, and say there's no such thing as an exit. When you could see exits and you see people running towards the exit, and just wait for the monster to get you. I don't know what the monster gonna do to you, but usually monsters, they don't do pleasant things. But I don't want that for you, Mr. Robin Dude. I want you to be able to find an exit. And hence, what I propose that you do, I hope, since we all have time, I hope you have time, is that before that monster catches up to you, that you should try to find an exit. And I propose you ask yourself these questions. Number one is, how do I determine if something is true or false? Number two, for what purpose do I exist? Number three, where am I going? Number four, how did this all begin? Number five, why did it begin? Number six, does this universe have a purpose? Number seven, know our insignificance in this vast universe. And when we realize our insignificance, this tiny dot, not even a dot compared to the entire existence of this world, we should be humble. And with this humility comes number 8. We ask for ways for us to find out the true exit. Alright, Mr. Robin Dude and everyone else, till the next one, Assalamu alaikum.